there, future thought leaders. Welcome to the Big Queries, where we take big ideas and make them totally awesome to understand. Today, we're exploring something that affects you every single day, the words you use and hear. We're diving into a famous essay called Politics and the English Language by George Orwell. You might know him as the author of Animal Farm or 1984. Don't worry about the serious-sounding title. It's basically about how the way we use words can either help us think clearly or turn our brains to mush. Ready to discover your new superpower? Let's go. Imagine this. You're scrolling through social media and see a headline that says, "Temporary negative economic consequences were experienced due to necessary fiscal adjustments." Ugh, what does that even mean? It might be saying, people lost their jobs because the government cut spending. See the difference? One is fuzzy and hides what really happened, while the other is clear and honest. This is exactly what George Orwell was concerned about when he wrote his essay back in 1946. He noticed something important. Bad, confusing language isn't just annoying, it can actually make it impossible for us to think clearly about important stuff. Orwell lived through some really tough times. He saw how powerful leaders and groups used confusing language to hide terrible things they were doing. They would use big, fancy words and vague phrases to make harmful actions sound normal or even good. Orwell realized that if we can't name something clearly, we might not even be able to understand what's happening. So what makes language bad? He pointed out several language traps we should watch out for. First, there are dying metaphors, or what we might call zombie phrases. These are expressions that were once creative and vivid, but have been used so much they've lost their power. They're like zombies, not fully alive but still walking around. Think about phrases like the bottom line, or think outside the box. They used to help us picture ideas clearly, but now they're just empty phrases people use when they don't want to think of something original. Then there are what Orwell called operators, or verbal false limbs, or what we can call word padding. These are fancy ways of saying simple things. Instead of saying now, someone might say at this point in time. Instead of because, they say due to the fact that. This word padding doesn't add meaning. It just stuffs sentences with extra fluff that makes simple ideas sound more complicated than they are. Orwell also warned about pretentious diction, or fancy words, using big, impressive-sounding words when simple ones would work better. Some people think using fancy words' vocabulary makes them sound smart, but Orwell argued it often does the opposite. It makes their thinking fuzzy and harder to understand. And finally, he talked about meaningless words, or what we can call empty words. Words that are so vague or have been used in so many different ways that they barely mean anything anymore. Empty words like democratic, freedom, or patriotic sound important, but if we don't define what we mean when we use them, they can become hollow containers that anyone can fill with whatever meaning they want. Let me show you how this works with a real example. Imagine a school principal announcing, "There will be a temporary redistribution of educational resources to optimize learning outcomes across demographics." That sounds important, but what does it actually mean? It might be a fancy way of saying, "We're taking books from the 8th grade classroom to give to the 6th graders because they don't have enough." See how the clear version helps you understand exactly what's happening? But here's the really important part. Orwell wasn't just being picky about grammar. He showed that unclear language and unclear thinking are connected in a dangerous cycle. When we use vague, ready-made phrases instead of choosing our words carefully, our thinking becomes lazy. And when our thinking is lazy, we reach for more ready-made phrases. Why does this matter so much? Because in politics and other important areas of life, this fuzzy language can hide the truth. When a politician says, "Collateral damage occurred during the military operation," they're using abstract words to avoid saying, "Our army accidentally killed innocent people." The vague version distances us from the human reality and makes it harder to form strong opinions about what happened. Clear language is essential for freedom and democracy. If we can't describe what's happening in plain, honest terms, how can we possibly make good decisions about our world? How can we hold powerful people accountable? So what can you do with this knowledge bomb we just dropped? Here are some awesome actionable items to help you become a master of clear thinking and communication. First, become a language detective. When you read news articles, social media posts, or hear speeches, Watch out for language traps. Can you spot the zombie phrases, word padding, fancy words, and empty words? Ask yourself, could this be said more simply? What exactly does this mean? Is this hiding something important? Second, practice the translate challenge. Take a complicated paragraph from a textbook, news article, or speech and try to rewrite it in the simplest, clearest way possible without losing the meaning. This trains your brain to cut through the fog. Third, be specific in your own writing and speaking. Instead of saying, the book was good, try, the book had exciting characters and a surprise ending that made me think about friendship in a new way. Specific details make your thoughts clearer to others and to yourself. Fourth, create a banned words list of vague terms and overused phrases you notice yourself using. Challenge yourself to find fresh, precise alternatives that say exactly what you mean. Fifth, when discussing important issues with friends or in class, gently ask for clarification when someone uses fuzzy language. Say something like, "I'm not sure I understand. Could you give me an example of what that looks like?" This helps everyone think more clearly. And finally, remember that your words are powerful. The next time you write a school essay, create a social media post, or even just explain your ideas to a friend, take a moment to ask yourself, am I saying exactly what I mean in the clearest way possible? Clear language is your superpower for thinking well and helping others do the same. So there you have it. George Orwell showed us something incredible, that the words we choose directly shape how we think about our world. Bad language isn't just a style problem. It's a thinking problem that can make it harder to understand reality and easier for others to manipulate us. The next time you hear someone using overly complicated language to explain something simple, remember, clear thinking requires clear language. Don't let fuzzy words cloud your brilliant mind. Thanks for joining us on The Big Queries. If you liked learning about the connection between language and thinking, hit that subscribe button for more mind-expanding videos. Until next time, stay curious and keep asking those big queries.